Hello everybody and welcome to another video on my YouTube channel. My name is Sietch Gossery and I'm the 15-year-old author of these 3 books, and today I will be talking about them because, to be honest, I've posted a lot on my channel but I haven't actually ever explained what they're about. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So let's start off with my sci-fi trilogy, which I haven't finished yet, but I'm working on the 3rd book. Okay, you can count on it. And personally, I really love the 3rd book for the moment, but yeah, so this is the first book that I wrote at age 10 and that I published at age 11 in 2022. It is more for like kids in elementary school, like for people from 6 to 12 years of age, and it's the story of 6 children living on the planet of ants who embark on an adventure to go and investigate a mysterious shadow that is looming inside the solar system's asteroid belt. Yeah, and basically nobody knows what it is, and so they're all like super curious. Like the adults have a lot of people adults actually have already like gone on missions to try and find out what it's about, but like that kept being failures, so the children decided to like go on a mission of their own and basically go and see what it's about, and it all actually turns out to be a lot more sinister than what they expected. So yeah, it's like a really cool mystery story with friendship, and yeah, it's a really fun book. And also it's kind of short and easy to read, so yeah, if you're a kid, it's like a perfect read, definitely. And then there's like the sequel, which is The Rise of the King, and this one is for a slightly older age range. I think like maybe middle grade or lower YA, basically. It's the story of like the same 6 children, because it's a sequel to this book, going on a mission to the planet of Aziasa, because on that planet, which by the way is encircled by like a metal shell to like stop people from entering and like seeing what's going on there, and like to like keep privacy and everything, to go and prevent the resurrection of the villain's king. And so the villains are called the Rhodes, and they appear at some point in this book, but I'm not going to say when or how, because otherwise that would be a spoiler, obviously. So yeah, so they go on a mission. It's super dangerous and everything, and at some point it does turn out that the villains actually want the main character dead, but she doesn't even know why. And yeah, so basically they're a step ahead of her and she doesn't even know that she's being hunted. So like it's really high stakes. And if the 6 children fail to stop the king's resurrection, then the galaxy will be at war. So yeah, they definitely have to try and find a way to like stop the resurrection at all costs. So there's like sacrifice, friendship, hope, and also a lot of trauma and action. So it's a really fun read too. And I'm currently working on the 3rd book, which is like absolutely awesome. It's like the climax of the story, and I'm not gonna say more about it now because I'm still drafting right now. I'm at like 50,000 words. And now we have another book of mine, which is Une histoire qui se passe en 2010. It is my only story that's actually in French, and also the only one that is trad published, because the other 2 are self-published. And it's a short story about a girl who goes to school and he gets bullied so bad that at the end there's something that's really tragic that happens. And I'm not going to say more, otherwise I'm going to spoil, obviously. And yeah, but there is a morality at the end, and I find it's a really touching story. So if you like that kind of story, go and check this out. Okay, so now for reading excerpts, okay? I'm going to read one excerpt from each book. Let's start with book 1, The 6 Children. So just some context, a Therme is like a creature. It's like kind of a beast, and it's really dangerous. And the Rhodes are the villains in the story. So yeah, let's start with The 6 Children. Suddenly the Therme turned and leapt at Bill, knocking him to the ground. It raised its long tail. If they didn't stop it, the Therme would thump Bill in the stomach. They had no choice but to fight. Emma grabbed its tail and tried to drag it away from Bill, but its long neck turned, reaching to bite Emma, who released the tail. It trundled towards Emma, baring its teeth, swinging its tail from side to side. Anna grabbed on it, trying to prevent it from inflicting any further damage, but the Therme swung the hammer at Anna's face, who wasn't fast enough to dodge out of the way. Luckily, Bill got to his feet a few seconds before and pulled Anna out of the way in time to avoid the Therme's tail. So yeah, that was a little fight scene from The Six Children. If that sounded interesting, then don't hesitate to go and check it out on Amazon. Now on to The Rise of the King. Okay, so I found this really cool excerpt, so I'm going to read it to you guys. Yes, the man smiled eerily at her. Follow me. The man pulled his chair back with apparent difficulty, making a loud scraping noise on the wooden floor, and staggered to his feet. Emma followed him outside, the barman chuckling to himself behind them as they went. The man tottered down dimly lit alleyways with Emma on his tail. He nearly fell, tripping on a pile of rubbish that was lying on the side of a deserted street, but managed to catch himself in time. Emma was starting to feel anxious and was beginning to think that coming with this man might not have been such a good idea after all. They continued walking until they came to stop in a particularly narrow and dark alley, away from any of the major streets. Then, suddenly, the man grabbed Emma from behind and clapped a hand to her mouth to stop her from screaming for help. Emma flailed and struggled to get free, but to no avail. The man was a lot larger and stronger than her. He was an adult, and she a mere 9-year-old child. What hopes did she have? She should have trusted her initial instincts back at the inn, but now it was too late. Emma kicked and tried to scream, but her voice was muffled by the hand pressed hard to her mouth. The man was trying to force a potato bag onto her head. If he managed to, she would be even more helpless than she already was. Yeah, that was an excerpt from The Rise of the King, and if that sounded cool to you, then don't hesitate to go and check it out on Amazon. Now, let's move on to 2010. Pendant les récréations, je me cachais dans les toilettes. Ce lieu particulier était devenu mon refuge. J'y mangeais, y dessinais, y m'y sentais en sécurité, sentiment que je n'avais nulle part ailleurs. Et parfois je pleurais quand personne d'autre n'y était. Je me laissais aller, je lâchais les sanglots que j'avais retenus tout au long du cours car Madame Roupeau, Mila et Joséphine ne me laissaient jamais tranquille. Mes pleurs revenaient en écho dans la pièce carrelée, telle une morne symphonie. Il fallait toujours qu'on m'embête pour rendre le cours plus intéressant, pour que les élèves démotivés puissent trouver de la gaieté au détriment de mon âme sensible qui se sentait encore plus seule. J'étais comme un fantoche, un objet ridicule affiché en public pour qu'on s'en moque ouvertement. Et, comme vous l'imaginez, cela ruina ma santé mentale. Alors je pleurais en cachette, je laissais les larmes inonder mon visage, avec le sentiment de ne pas être désiré, de n'être qu'un simple jouet pour de sales jeux, envahissant mon cœur, qui le battait par je ne savais même plus quelle force. Au moment les plus sombres, des pensées morbides s'insinuaient dans mon cerveau, et une petite voix me chuchotait à l'oreille. Mets fin à leurs jeux tordus. Fais-leur comprendre le vrai impact de leurs mots. Tu es la seule qui sait le faire, et tu sais que ça fonctionnera. Ok, so if you thought that was interesting, ou si tu croyais que c'était intéressant, alors n'hésite pas à les trouver 2010 sur lamirois.net. Oh yeah, those were excerpts from my 3 books, but I do have some news for you guys, because recently I just posted my first ever story on Wattpad, and it is a historical fiction, and it's so good. So obviously, I'm going to read you an excerpt now, even though I finished yapping about my own books, but whatever, let's do it. We launched ourselves into the streets outside in the direction of the mines. Even from afar, I could already pick up the screams that were rising in the still air, and the acrid smell of fumes drifting tauntingly towards my nostrils. My heart was pounding my chest as we raced around the corner of the nearest building and came to a stop before the mine's entrance. The gates were closed and locked, police officers stationed on the other side of the bars, trying to calm the clamouring crowd. Behind them rose the tower of one of the elevators leading down into the ground, flames spewing out of the gaping steel mouth. A knot tightened in my stomach. I ran forward, pushing people aside to reach the fence. They yelled at me, but I barely paid notice. When I finally reached the bars, I grabbed hold of them and clutched them like they were lifelines, trying to peer through the thick haze of smoke obscuring my view. Dad, Dad, I shouted, shaking them, as if the cold metal beneath my fingertips would yield to my anguish. But I could not see him, only firefighters laden with hosepipes, rushing to the source of the fire in an attempt to extinguish it. Men in suits and news reporters would occasionally flit past, and I swore I even saw a camera flash in my direction, but I didn't even bother to call out the photographer holding it. I don't know how long I waited there, sobbing and hollering for all the good that would do, but all I knew was that those few hours of waiting were more agony than anything I had ever known before. So yeah, that was it. If you want to find out like what happens next and everything, then don't hesitate to go and check it out on Wattpad, because only 7 people have read it so far, and like, I'm offended. because more people actually read these books. I mean, especially this one, rather than this story, which I genuinely think is fire. But anyway, whatever. So yeah, if that was interesting, then don't hesitate to go and check out my books and also my short story on Wattpad. So yeah. And also don't hesitate to subscribe and like this video if you liked it. Bye!